It's time to focus on seniors with Helping Seniors TV. The television show designed to make you aware of senior issues and needs, as well as to acquaint you with the resources available to help you age in place and with dignity. Now, here's your host, Joe Steckler.
I'm Joe Steckler, and welcome to Helping Seniors, the television arm of Helping Seniors of Brevard County. Our show is designed to provide you with information on how to develop your own aging and care plans. Our topic today is seniors selling real estate. And joining me is Wendy Handy, realtor with Dale Sorensen Real Estate. Welcome, Wendy.
Thanks, Joe.
I'm glad to have you here.
Great to be
here.
here.
Viewers, I want you to pay particular attention today to some of the things that Wendy and I talk about, because I want her to go over her background a little bit, because I think you'll see that from her background, it's my own personal observation from having moved in my Navy career all over the United States and dealing with so many different types of realtors, that I think her background will help make her a better real estate agent. And I think you'll see that as we talk about on the show today, Wendy. So having said what I did, how about telling our viewing audience a little bit about your background and why you really elected to get into the real estate business? I think I know, but I want you to tell them.
Yeah, well, my background is I was a flight attendant for United Airlines for 16 years, based out of Miami and flying mostly down into South America. And we settled into Brevard County, we kind of by accident. One of the previous airlines that I had worked for, we used to overnight here. And my husband always wanted to move to Florida, and we kept looking on the West Coast, and I kept saying, you got to see this little town called Melbourne. It's pretty cool. And we ended up, he moved in, and that's where we have landed for 25 years.
It's almost the same thing that happened to me with my last job in the Navy. I had come out of the Navy's retirement home in Gulfport, Mississippi. And years before that, I had been stationed at Auburn University. I had come out of the Navy ROTC program. And Lynn Weaver, who was the dean of the School of Engineering, later moved to Florida and became president of Florida Institute of Technology. So when I got ready to retire, I said to my wife, Tara, I said, well, where do you want to retire? She says, I don't care as long as it's south of I-10. It doesn't leave you too many options, right. Wendy. But eventually we came here to Melbourne, and we discovered a paradise just like you. Mm-hmm. And as we got into the real estate market, we realized since we had never built a home before. And at that point, I was 55 years old. I wasn't a senior citizen yet. But we started to think about what would we want when we got older. And I saw all these people with these two-story homes. And I said, I don't want that. My wife says, I don't want that either, Joe. We want a one floor. We wanted to make things easier for us as we got older. Mm-hmm. And so we started looking at models, and it just opened our eyes as to what value a real estate agent that understood senior needs, what they brought to the market. Mm-hmm. So I think isn't that part of the thing? How did you get interested in the senior market, though?
It's interesting. I have worked with Kay Kaiser, and she and I worked very closely together.
You're talking about our information specialist, not the bandmaster.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And we worked very closely together when she had people that needed to sell their homes in order to move into the assisted living facility. Okay. And we worked, several times together in assisting them get their homes sold so that they could get into the assisted living.
What did you find are some of the biggest impediments that seniors encountered as they were trying to make a decision whether to sell a current home and move into something different just because they wanted to change, or if they wanted to downsize? What were some of the biggest obstacles that you encountered?
I think the biggest obstacle is always, what do I do with everything that I have? How do I figure out what I'm going to take, what I'm not going to take, and what do I do with what I'm not going to take with me? And so I have a couple of different estate sale companies that I can refer to the seniors to that will help them downsize and get rid of some of the things that they're not going to be taking with them to their
You
new.
say you have an estate sale company?
No, I work with a couple of different.
Which one do you work with?
There's one in particular called, and I'm going to not get the name right, I'm sure.
Southern?
Southern Trading, yes.
Southern Trading?
There's another one that is specifically for helping seniors.
Caring Traditions?
Caring Traditions. And there's another one too that's
Main Event?
No, it's
Island?
helping downsize, helping seniors
Oh,
downsize.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of. The reason I asked you that was sort of a leading question. My wife and I started going to these estate sales because we found that people were selling, were trying to downsize, and we were facing the same thing ourselves. But instead of getting rid of stuff, we required stuff, and that's something. So then we said, okay, we'll start buying these things and giving it to our granddaughters who are getting ready to get married. Well, you quickly learn that you're not as familiar with your granddaughters as to what their needs or what their wants are.
That's right.
So here I was collecting all these Persian and Oriental rugs, and I was having a hard time getting them to understand it. You can work these things to any decorating theme you want.
That's right.
But being able to make a determination that I can part with possessions in order to make my lifestyle simpler and easier, that's part of what you do as a real estate agent trying to help seniors. And
Absolutely.
How do you do that, Wendy?
Well, I'll go in and sort of walk them through. It's a process. It's not something that's, you just decide one day I'm going to sell and the next day you're ready to sell. It's a process. So it takes time. And we kind of go through that process of here's where we're going to start first. And I think for seniors, as long as they have a game plan and they know what to expect next and not try to overwhelm with too many things at once, it makes it a whole lot easier for them to make the change.
How do you help these people develop a game plan? How do you do that? What are some of the steps in developing a game plan? What are some of the things they look at?
Well, first of all, I find out where they want to move. Is it just a downsize, or is it moving to an assisted living facility? If it's moving into an assisted living facility, I help them set up appointments with some of the facilities around so that they can go visit. Find out which one they're most comfortable with. That's the first step. Or if they're moving into just downsizing into a smaller home, we start to look at different areas and different types of homes so that they can figure out where they really want to go.
I think a lot of it has to do with the physical capability of the couple at the same time too.
Absolutely.
Because generally speaking, one of the partners may be encountering some type of a medical problem, so that whatever move you make, you gotta be able to incorporate care for the person that is sort of becoming incapacitated.
Absolutely.
A number of people don't realize, I think, Wendy, that when you're talking about downsizing, and if you're talking about moving into an assisted living facility, and while you still have some capacity, mental capacity left, you might want to have your own possessions. Most assisted living facilities will let you take your own possessions and outfit your room, won't they?
Absolutely, yes. As much as they can fit in and want to fit in, they'll let them bring.
That's where this estate sale thing
Correct.
comes into.
Absolutely.
We like to think that our families value the same treasures that we've collected over the many years of our married lives, and we like to think that they would like to take what we have and weave it into their own future living. But that's not always true.
No. I find that with my own mother, who lives right here in Rockledge. And she's realizing that all of the things that she's collected in over the years are not necessarily what my brothers and I want. So I'll be helping her with an estate sale.
Yeah. And I remember years ago that a man I'd served with in submarines. He later went on to command naval nuclear reactors. That one of the hardest decisions that he and his wife had to make was downsizing and getting rid of personal possessions.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to let things go, and
especially if you've had them for many, many years.
Yeah. And one of the hardest things, I made a decision to get rid of my gun collection, and I gave it to my son. And of course, I had collected some of these pieces that had never been fired. They were extremely valuable. Well, the first thing he did was fire a round through them,
Mm-hmm.
and it lost that significant difference.
Right.
But that's life.
That's right.
And but I got a 22, a couple I acquired, but he's not getting those yet. I'm going to hang on to those for a while.
That's right.
But what are some of the things? Let's say, do you find seniors that say, I just simply am tired of living in this house and I want to go someplace else? How do you find customers in the senior market? How do they come to you? Do you seek them out? How do you do this?
I seek them out. But I also, a lot of times I do get those phone calls that say, I'm ready for a change, or worse yet, it's to the point where I need a change. I can no longer take care of the home. I need to go to an assisted living. I can no longer drive, whatever that case is, or I need to be closer to, a family member. So a lot of times they'll call me for help, knowing that I have.
But do you find families, say, that live in Melbourne, Florida area, and Brevard County, that want to move someplace else?
Yes.
Do you help them do that?
Absolutely. And I have a network of realtors around North America, and that I can refer them to if they're purchasing something on the other end as well.
So what you're describing is a realtor care assistance network, similar to like we have Gentiva Home Healthcare that's all around the country.
Mm-hmm.
We have other types of assisted living insurance companies that if they have a client that has a need in a different city, they're able to network.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the things I picked up in the questions that you sent to me was the fact that you have a network of your own repair people that can go in. And how do you find that extremely helpful to seniors?
Seniors, if you open up the phone book and look for an air conditioning company, for example, you have no idea who to look for or who's trustworthy. I mean, it's a crapshoot when you make that phone call. I've done all the legwork, and I've researched these people. I've used them myself. These are people that I trust in my own home and trust, that they're going to do a good job. And so they don't have to go through that whole process. It's just easy to say, I know that these people will take good care of you. So it's kind of been trial and error for me too.
Well, when you said that you wanted to join our provider network, and I was particularly pleased because you're the first real estate agent we've got a show on reverse mortgages, which is extremely helpful to seniors.
Mm-hmm.
But you're the first agent we have that deals more primarily in the senior market, and by virtue of the fact that you yourself admitted that just a minute ago that you had difficulty looking through the phone book trying to find people that were trustworthy. What we're trying to do is build a network of real estate agents, elder law attorneys, care programs that go into homes to take care of people.
Mm-hmm.
Because too many people just don't understand there are more than one element of care.
Right.
There's also more types of agents selling real estate.
Mm-hmm.
A thing that do you find in working with seniors that they understand the vital need for different types of protective insurance and when they buy or sell in a market?
No, I find the general population in general is not really that educated on it, and it's something that, well, I fault our industry for not educating people better about it. But no, I find that they need help with that.
But there are insurances that you can recommend to them that will protect them in the event that there might be a resale of a home 2 or 3 down the line,
Yes.
this insurance, if the correct type of insurance it's retroactive, goes back and protects you.
Correct. Absolutely.
But it's
Absolutely.
important for seniors to understand that.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you have encountered in trying to sell, either helping seniors sell or helping seniors buy? Let's talk about helping seniors sell. What's the biggest challenge there?
I think the biggest challenge is a lot of times, even though they know that they have to move, whether it be to move to closer to a son or a daughter or a family member, or whether it's to go to an assisted living facility, I think the biggest challenge is actually getting them mentally to accept that. And so it makes it a little bit of a difficult process.
Are you saying that you have situations where you know that maybe the son or the daughter is having a difficult time convincing a mother or dad it's time to let somebody else take care of you more than you can't do it independently? Do you try to work with the children then to help convince the parents?
Absolutely. We all work together in a way that they can, understand that it's for their best, in their best interest.
Okay. On the other hand, in trying to get when seniors want to move simply because they want to move, do you find is it an easier sell to get people to move from one location to another than it is to get to downsize?
Yes. Yes. Downsizing is very difficult because, again, like we talked about earlier, it's getting rid of those possessions that you've had for so long and collected and memories.
Do you believe that Wendy Handy, by virtue of the fact that you understand more of what the families are going through, that you're able to help both the elderly as well as the younger understand the need to work together to
Yes.
make this transition happen?
Absolutely. And a lot of times the children are not even in Florida. I'm dealing with a woman that just moved into assisted living, and we have her home in Cocoa Beach listed, and her daughter lives out in Nevada. And it's a little difficult and challenging, but the three of us have gotten together and meeting of the minds and come up with a game plan for getting her mom's home sold. So,
you mentioned earlier that you worked with Kay, and now that you know that Kay is the information specialist here at Helping Seniors, does that knowledge sort of give you ideas on how the services provided through Helping Seniors can help you as a real estate help seniors?
absolutely. Absolutely.
How do you do that, Wendy?
It's kind of it's an interesting question. Kay and I know that Kay's is a wealth of information when it comes to helping seniors. She's been doing this for a long time. And if I have a question, I'm going to call Kay on, hey, for example, I have some clients that the wife no longer drives, hasn't driven in the last 8 years. The husband can't drive any longer, and she's needing grocery shopping. And I don't know where to get that for her. Do you know of anything?
Do you know now?
I do know now.
Yeah.
You mentioned something to me earlier.
Yeah. But what we did, folks, we sort of talked about this before the show. And she said she'd mentioned it on the show. But it shows you what can happen when you have interactions with different people. And that doesn't mean just on a television show or a radio show or reading a book or reading a newspaper article. Generally, it's when you talk to people, just like when you're trying to connect with somebody or you're having a conversation, one thing pops up, and there are so many ways to help people that you simply don't know about it. There are church organizations that will provide transportation. There's a program in Brevard County through Aging Matters called Vets Driving Vets. There's a Space Coast Center for Independent Living that has a van service. that generally speaking, for a $10 trip, they can go to a person's home. If they're in a wheelchair, they can pick them up in that wheelchair, put the wheelchair in their van, drive them to a grocery store, take them in the store while they shop, put them back in the van, and take them home and help them put the groceries away. But see, you didn't know about that.
I didn't know about that.
Which makes it all the more important, folks, for us to build this provider network that is trustworthy, then it is almost no cost. There's got to be a cost, generally speaking, with something. We do have some free programs, but generally speaking, people have to pay for gas, and they have to have a car, and they have to do these things. But it doesn't mean that we can't do a better job, Wendy, of doing things. And that's why I was so interested when you said you were a realtor dealing primarily in a senior market. And I thought that if we could go on camera and talk about situations that you encounter, what are some of the other things that you have found as a realtor working with seniors? What are some of the other, do you have like a story you can tell?
That's the best story, because I was actually having to drive down there and take her grocery shopping. But that, I encountered something a little bit different every day, and it could be as much as where do they go to get their will changed or something, something of that, something legal. So I can refer them to an elder law specialist.
It's interesting you bring that up, because you have just opened something that more people that we're trying to help, like realtors, like people that deal with the senior market, understand the seniors open themselves up to all kinds of scams.
Absolutely.
And one of the worst scams that's occurring right now, in my opinion, is the sort of preying on seniors that need Medicaid type assistance, where these purportedly professional people will say, for this fee, I will ensure that you get a Medicaid card. And here they are asking, and I can sit here in front of this camera and say that I know people that are being asked to spend as much as $8,000 to get a Medicaid card. We're talking poor people.
Yeah.
But yet these supposedly professional people, financial planners, or some attorneys, or other people that do this, that will make it look like they're doing the right thing, when in fact they're doing the wrong thing, when all these services could be gotten free. And that's why it's so important for you as a realtor. And I like the one thing where and I would like for you to explain to our viewing audience, you mentioned you have a team, but that team, what kind of a team is that? When we're talking about your handyman and things like that, what makes your service a little bit different from others selling real estate to seniors?
Well, I've chosen what I feel to be the most trustworthy and the best at their profession, and I've gone through a lot. I've gone through a lot of handymen. I've gone through a lot of AC guys and roofers, and through trial and error, and I've come up with what I think is the best of the best. And they're timely, they're trustworthy, and they're good at what they do.
So then what Kay needs to do is to get the list of your people from you and see if they want to join our senior provider
Absolutely.
network. Well,
absolutely.
This is how we make a system better. Too many people are willing to accept the fact, Wendy, that we buy a home, we sell a home, we move into assisted living, we move into nursing homes. But quite often we find that we move people into elements of care they don't need to be moved into, and there are steps that we can take before we can keep them on this level before we get them up to this level. And sometimes families don't realize that either, and that's a difficult thing.
Absolutely.
Would you say that well, what would you say if I had to go back and Joe asked Wendy, in all the years that you traveled as a flight attendant, moving from place to place, seeing the challenges that people had in buying and selling, what has been some of the most significant things that have made you feel good about being a real estate agent involved with seniors over the last couple of years? A couple of highlights.
A couple highlights. Well, I think it's always great to see. It's a very emotional thing, especially selling a home. And for a senior, it's probably even more emotional because they get very, very attached to things. And the best part for me and the greatest thing is when there's been challenges along the way, and it has been a little bit rocky, is that at the end of the day, there's a big smile on their face, and I can see the sense of relief that it's done.
It might be the fact, gee, I unloaded that burden.
That's right.
I'm only
That's
kidding.
right.
I'm kidding. But,
that could be too.
But
either way, there's a smile.
Yeah. Well, if a senior forgets or loses the ability to smile, you've lost a lot because, when you talk about the life cycle, the first thing a baby learns to do is to smile. And the last thing an older person forgets is the ability to smile. Mm-hmm. So you learn early, and you keep that smile till the end. So we're just about out of time, and I want to thank you, Wendy, for doing this show because I think it's important for people to understand seniors do need to sell real estate. Mm-hmm. They do need to buy, but they need to buy it and sell it to reputable people.
Yep.
And that's what I think you have brought to this viewing audience today. And I
Thanks,
want to
Joe.
thank you, viewers, for watching today's episode of Helping Seniors.